talking NBA Finals, so much has been made of the duos in this NBA Finals. It's Tatum and Brown and Luka and Kyrie. Real quick on Jaylen Brown and we have a caller here. Caller, hang in there 1 second. 916-909-1320, 916-909-1320 if you want to hop on the program. But Jaylen Brown did a sit-down interview with, I think, ESPN, where he said, like, I'm at the point in my life where I just don't give an F about the respect anymore. Like, he's just been so overlooked his entire life, and he's just so, I'm at the point in my life. It's like, first of all, you're like 27, relax.
Yeah.
If that. he's a very young guy. But the other thing is, Jaylen Brown like disrespected or underrated in some way? I feel like Jaylen Brown is very properly rated.
I totally agree with you.
He is. The Celtics are loaded, and he is very clearly considered their second best player, and on some nights their best player.
Mm-hmm.
He's didn't make All NBA because he's not a top 15 guy. I'm sorry. And he got a $300 million contract from the Celtics. And pretty much everybody considers him, if he's not top 15, everybody considers him top 20, 25.
Yeah.
Like, he is one of the very best players in the league, but he's just not an All-NBA guy.
It's crazy because he was an All-NBA guy a year ago.
Sure.
Right? So he averaged 26.6 points per game. But this season, his points per game dropped to 23. And I know that they have a more well-rounded team.
Yeah.
And like overall, he was very similar to the player he's been in the past. Maybe didn't rebound as well, but again, that can be situational. That could be the fact that Derek White's a really good rebounder, or
Kristaps Porzingis.
Yeah, or Drew Holiday is a better rebounding point guard than what they've had in the past. So I think it's interesting, but I kind of put him in that bubble where, like, yeah, he's an all-star, but he's not one of the elite of the elite of the elite.
Mm-mm.
And even still, I found it interesting. We were watching a conversation about just where all these guys rank. And even yesterday that we had the conversation, we had Jayson Temp, where he said he has Jayson Tatum like as that first guy outside of the top tier.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think that's fair.
Yeah, I think it's fair because he's a guy who, like, yeah, he's really good, but there's greatness in the league. And to compete with that, you have to turn it up a notch. You know, again, I would put Jayson Tatum in the same bracket as like a Donovan Mitchell. You know, he's in a bracket of players that are like that De'Aaron Fox is in, but he's not at the top of that list with a Tatum just because of the winning, right? So I think that this is like it's difficult for a guy like Jaylen Brown to feel that way, but I almost wonder if he's going to be one of those guys that has to, at some point, like, I need to go have my own team so I can show everybody. And it's like, okay, like, I'm not sure. That seems, but you know what I mean? Like, we used to have those guys that, like, you got to go.
Kyrie just did it.
Yeah, I got to go somewhere else where I got to go prove that I'm the guy.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay, that's fine. If that's what you want to do, you're going to give up winning. So, I mean, you're on a winner. You're on a team. Like, if you just look at him, he's never going to be a top 5 player in, like all time in the NBA. He's just not that guy.
No.
But he has an opportunity to be a Hall of Famer. He has an opportunity to win multiple titles with the Celtics.
Yep.
Like, all those things should matter to you. Like, and the paycheck is so extreme.
It is insane.
It's wild.
Not that he didn't earn it, like he did. But that's kind of the thing. And I know that athletes do this.
Yeah.
I'm not dumb. I know that sometimes, but in this instance, I'm not. Where I know that athletes drum up disrespect like this all the time, right? All the freaking time. So it's not that that's this. I always look at those things logically, and I try and go, is that person right? Like, they're going to drum up that disrespect because it's going to fuel them or whatever. But, like, man, Jaylen Brown was the best player on a finals team. I think everybody just kind of knows that. And he was that's to say he was the best player in the 2022 finals for them by I thought a pretty wide margin. And he's very, very good. And I don't think that not being an All-NBA guy, like, somewhere along the line, it became, if you're saying a guy's not a top 5 guy, you're like disrespecting him. Like, no, do you know how good you have to be to get to that point? It is so hard to get to that point. You can be really great and not be there.
Yeah.
I guess that's just like, I don't know. I I don't know.
Yeah, I'm just not
like I said,
sure.
I'm probably way overthinking this.
Yeah, I just don't think we're here for the poor me, I'm not getting my respect thing.
Yeah.
Like, I
You're
think
getting it, I
you have the
promise.
largest contract in NBA history to date.
Yeah.
Like, you will be paid handsomely. You are getting that respect. I just find it interesting that this is kind of where we're at with him.
Yeah.
Like, go in there and just, like, win a championship. How about if you want the respect, just go take it right now.
Yeah.
Go be the best player in an NBA Finals.
That's been the benchmark.
Yeah. Go just grab the bull by the horns and, like, take your team to an NBA championship, and everything else will fall in place.
And he's that good.
Yeah.
I think he can.
Yeah,
so now go do it. 916-909-1320, 916-909-1320. If you want to join the show, we got Don. Don, what's going on?
Hey, this is Big Don E. How you guys doing?
Big Don E. What's up, baby?
Just for who's depending on who wins the championship this year, whose legacy would be affected the most? Kyrie, who's been looking for a home since leaving Cleveland. Luka, whose Harden-like play style was never thought to be a winning formula until this year. Or Tatum, who is the 1A on a team but didn't show up last time he was in the finals.
What was it? Say the first part of that again.
Whose legacy is
Oh, great question.
Probably it was a very good question.
That's it. That's the chatty house said a couple things about the Jaylen Brown thing that I want to put a pin in for sure. I think it feels to me, because of what we're talking about with Tatum and Brown, like Luka's legacy is not going to be defined here. It's just not defined, but it's his first trip to the finals. If they get beat by this Boston team, nobody's gonna be like, wow, Luka actually stinks. I don't, and frankly, the James Harden play style stuff, it feels like he has evolved into a little bit different version of that, where he's taking, or is more willing to take a back seat in certain spots. Kyrie is there's a huge conversation we can have about Kyrie, but he hit maybe the biggest shot in NBA history. Like, Kyrie is that dude. To me, it's Tatum at this point. Like, dude, they've got it. They have to get it. He has been incredible. And the Celtics have been incredible with the Tatum and Brown duo. I know he brought up Tatum specifically, but I think he lumped Jaylen Brown in here too, where at some point you got it. You I know it's really hard to win a title, and I know there's so much more to the game and to preparation, and there are so many things that can deter you from winning a title that are out of your hands. But I feel like this has been the road. This is the year for them, where if they don't get it this year, like, people are going to start looking at them sideways like, hey, when are you going to do it then?
Yeah, so for me, I'm going to go with a totally different approach. I think it is Luka. I think that everybody has been waiting for Luka to take this step, and that if he were to win the NBA title, like, the MVPs are going to roll in one after another, after another, after another. Up to this point, I think it's really tough to give a guy whose team is 5th in the Western Conference the MVP award. And I know how good Luka's been, and if you look at his contract, I mean, and like his stats are obscene. Like, leading the league in scoring, like all of the things that he's doing right now, they're obscene, but he's in the conversation for MVP, but not really. Like, it's always like there's these other two guys that are going to win it over him. And it's because last season he didn't make the playoffs. Like, you can't be an MVP and not make the playoffs. It's not the way it goes. I mean, you could average 40 points a game, and if your team doesn't make the playoffs, you're not going to win MVP.
Yeah.
So this is one of those things where I think his legacy is going to be as one of the great players of all time, right? But, like, he can accumulate so many more statistical so many more, like, awards, so many things like MVP awards, if he does get over the hump here and win a championship. And it might not happen this year. It might never happen. We never know. But if he wins one, I think all of the accolades will be poured on him. I think it's very possible he will widely be considered the best player in the NBA, bar none, if he does lead a team to a championship. And
it's a good point.
Yeah, I think, again, like Tatum and his legacy, I just don't think it's ever going to be as a superstar. It's going to be as a great player, but will he reach that extra status point? And I'm not sure he's ever going to reach that, even if he is a multi-time champion. Maybe I'm wrong. It's just he hasn't taken his game like past where like he's kind of like plateaued. And that plateau is as a great player.
Yeah.
26, 27 points per game. It's like, that's a great player. But you kind of thought that he might take it even further. And he's still young enough that he could. But I just don't know that he's ever going to reach the heights where we feel the same way that we could possibly feel about Luka, where he is he is the best player in basketball. I don't think we're going to get there. And then Kyrie, I think Kyrie's going to be one of the most complex, like his legacy is going to be one of the most complex things that we've ever seen in the sport. And when he's done, I don't know how people are going to view him, but I will tell you that players love him. Players who not only who play with him, but players who around the league, like De'Aaron Fox loves Kyrie Irving.
He is your favorite player's favorite player.
Yes. Like people dig him. Like outside of, I'm sure that a lot of players don't even understand some of the stuff that he's done that are negative. They like whether they dive into the politics of it or not.
I bet most of those guys couldn't care less.
Yeah. It's because they don't understand like what it is that he's done. But at the same time, I still think that like Kyrie has made some mistakes, and his legacy is going to be that. It's going to be as a player who was outstanding, and made like the best ball handler, one of the best ball handlers we've ever seen in the league.
He's
but
incredible.
There's always going to be this thing about him that you're like, okay, but this is who he is. I mean, he should be considered a top like 10 NBA player, and I'm not sure that most people like on the average fan would consider him that. And it's not because of his play, it's because of all the other stuff.
Yeah, and that's why I'm right there with you. It's going to be super complicated because of this weird stint he had. Well, there was the Boston. He gets out of Cleveland, where he was playing with LeBron James and could have just competed for titles every single year and probably won multiple. But he leaves because he wants to be the guy. So he goes to Boston and tells Boston, I'm going to stay. This is going to be, and then leaves. And he goes to Brooklyn. And then in Brooklyn, they're playing. They had the James Harden, Kevin Durant thing. That didn't quite work out. And then he like disappeared and then wouldn't play because of the vaccine mandate. And then had the video that he was posting on social media. Again, I have not even dove all the way into that, but there are just going to be things that people always look at with Kyrie who are going to go, well, I can't get myself to feel that way about him as a player because of X, Y, and Z. Well, that's fair enough. I don't know. But from a pure like on court standpoint, like in a vacuum where there's no real life and there's just basketball, Kyrie Irving is one of the most skilled players to ever play. He has hit one of the biggest shots in NBA history. If he goes out and is the finals MVP on a team with Luka Doncic facing this Celtics team with Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown and Derek White and Kristaps Porzingis and Drew Holiday, and he goes out and cooks again, then I think that I think it's going to cement from a basketball standpoint. Like, yeah, hey, whatever those weird couple years were where it looked like he was going to just fall out of the league, like those are now behind him.
Yeah.
Kyrie's back. Kyrie is one of the best players in the sport. But again, what in 20 years, how much is the stuff from the past few years going to matter to people, like people who weren't around.
No,
people who are babies right now who are talking on the radio in 25 years. Are they gonna care? I don't know.
I think it's possible they will, and that's the problem with legacies, because I think there are players that you still think of in certain ways from the past.
Yeah,
like if someone says Derek Coleman, you think, oh my gosh, great talent. but surly. And like people did not like him. He bounced around teams, and we're talking about a guy who was like one of the few 2010 guys in his era, like just consistently great numbers. But I think that there are legacy issues with certain players throughout history that you just kind of stand back and go, okay, look, like you were great. Again, like Tracy McGrady couldn't get through the first round. Couldn't get out of the first round of the playoffs for maybe one time in his entire career.
Yeah, it was when he was like with the Spurs.
Yeah. So I think that there are things that stick with you, and I think Kyrie, some of his stuff is going to stick with him. But that doesn't mean I don't think he's a Hall of Famer. I think he will be in the Hall of Famer. He will be in the Hall of Fame, and I think he is going to go down as one of the great players of this era.
Yep.
But he's going to probably be behind like 10 other guys, maybe 15 other guys in this era that you just put above him, and it's not fully because of his play. It's because of the whole package.
Caller I see on the line, hang in there for 1 second. What I'm not here for with Kyrie, I will fully acknowledge how good he is at basketball. I don't. He's some of his ability to finish around the rim. Somebody said somebody's like, you can appreciate it on TV, but wait till you watch him in person. And that's so true. The way he moves is just different. The way he handles the basketball is just different. The way he can finish at the rim is he's just an incredible, incredible talent.
Yeah.
Nobody owes Kyrie an apology. I'm not here for the like, wow, he overcame so much. Like, no, that's not the case at all. Yeah. You don't get to slam your face into a wall, and then when you stand back up, everybody be like, wow, he stood up. Amazing. What an incredible comeback. Like, no, man.
Yeah.
He did it to himself.
I totally agree. Yeah, the redemption tour is very interesting to watch.
The redemption tour from the standpoint of it looked like he was a bad teammate and was just always going to be a bad teammate and didn't care about winning anymore. That was very much real, and now it's not. He has overcome that perception. But he did that perception.
Yeah.
He did the things that made people view him that way and made people think like, hey, man, Kyrie just might not want to play basketball anymore. I don't know that I'd want to take this guy on my team right now. Like, he did that. And it was a perfectly normal take at the time.
Even look at what he was traded for. It ends up being like a couple of journeyman basketball players and a first round pick.
Yeah.
That's all they got
like
for
Spencer Dinwiddie and at like Dorian
30.
Finney-Smith.
Yeah, at age 30, that's what they got for a guy who should be considered close to superstar status, but at least star status. Yeah.
And then to make matters worse, in his first year in Dallas, they didn't even make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Which further fueled this like, hey, and part of that was on Luka for sure. There was a Luka component of that as well.
Yeah, of course.
But it was just like, man, hey, when you're reading the info you have at the time, like this is what it looks like.
Yeah.
You don't need to, nobody owes him an apology.
Yeah. I do think that it's very interesting how he's being portrayed at this point. And like, look, like guys get lost. They do.
No doubt.
And they find their way back sometimes.
Especially in their late 20s.
Yeah. And so, and especially during a really dark time. Like, we're all in a pandemic at that time. We're all going through some things at that time. So maybe he did just lose his way.
Sure.
But at the end of the day, I'm really not here for the full on redemption. Like this is a good story. And I'll tell you, one of the reasons I think it's a good story for him. It's because I think he did lose his way.
Yeah.
And I think when he got to Dallas, like I'll tell you, the problem, him getting to Dallas, from everything I knew from people inside, was not that he caused problems. It was that everyone all of a sudden wanted to play with him because they understood his play style and felt like they were more involved. And
interesting.
And they liked playing with him more than they liked playing with Luka. They right away they were like, oh, this is how basketball is supposed to be played.
Sure.
And what we've been doing feels like it's one guy and then us. Now he gets everybody involved. It feels like it's all of us together moving forward. I think that this season you've seen Luka turn the corner and figure this out, and you got to at least give Kyrie some of the credit for that. I think he has helped like Luka reach his potential in certain ways.
I agree.
And so I'm intrigued to see how it goes like forward with him. And I'd also be intrigued to see if Kyrie avoids, because it's not like he could do something else silly that just stands out and you just shake your head and go like, why? you know? Yeah. And like, look, there are a lot of complicated basketball players.
Totally. This is not, he is not the only person who's, quote unquote legacy is complicated.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I covered one of the most complicated players in the history of the league for 6.5 years.
Jimmer Fredette.
Yeah, exactly. DeMarcus Cousins was so complicated. And you know who else is I think is even more complicated was Rondo. Like Rondo's legacy is so complicated.
No doubt.
And then covering him and seeing him on a daily basis was so intriguing, like so brilliant, so smart.
Yeah.
The whole time you're like, no one was comfortable. He made it felt uncomfortable with him.
Interesting.
And just like that's his legacy is like this great player, but with so many weird like quirks to him that it leaves you like at the end of his like with a complicated legacy.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting.
I don't know if anybody's doubting that he's awesome at basketball though. What a player.
No, he can walk on the court and get a triple-double and
you know
one
what?
of the best defensive guards in the league.
Legacy-wise, you know what? Hang on. Put a pin in that. I want to talk about another Kyrie thing, but Don's been very patient. Don, you're on the Insiders with Kyle and James. What's up?
Yo, what's up? It's Leezy the Don. What's up, Kyle and Ham?
What's up, bro? What do you got?
What's up, guys?
What's happening?
Demon time. Hey, quick statement and question. I couldn't agree with you guys more. Like, oh yeah, we always on demon time. I just wanted to quick statement and question. I definitely agree with you guys on Kyrie. You know, Kyrie the player, he's great on the court, but off the court he's done so much like just obnoxious, like over the top crazy things. Like I'm not here for the redemption tour either. I think tonight with game one, I'm sure something's gonna happen because we know the Boston crowd can be a little crazy. But my real question, the reason I called in, I wanted to ask you guys a quick question. What do you guys think about this? For Prize Picks, I got Kyrie going over 3 on free throws, Daniel Gafford 8 points, and I got a free square with Tatum. You think I'm hitting on that one or no?
You have more than on those points, not over. More than.
More,
not over. It's very specific. Say the first one again.
Okay, I got Kyrie going over 3 free throws.
More than free throws.
And
free throw attempts or makes?
Makes.
Okay.
My bad.
Okay.
I got Daniel Gafford getting more than 8 points. He's been getting 10, 11, 12, you know.
Okay.
The only thing I'm worried about with that is Porzingis being back.
Sure.
And then what Prize Picks, you know, you basically get a free square with Jayson Tatum with getting like more than 1 point. We know that's easy.
more than half a point. I feel good about that one.
Yeah.
I like that. My biggest concern there is Gafford for sure.
Huh.
Yeah. Kyle, can I add one more thing, Kyle?
Yeah, quickly.
I'll be quick. You guys are talking about legacy and guys who changed their perception, I guess. Ron Artest was a good one because Malice and Palace, and then he was a big mental health guy in LA. So I just wanted to add that in. He was a good redemption story.
Yeah, it's a good one for sure. Thanks, Lizzie. Appreciate you. Yeah. Meta World Peace for sure. Is another complicated legacy guy.
Super, super complicated. Yeah. Complicated. And even without the Malice and the Palace, like super complicated.
Yeah. No doubt. The thing I wanted to say about Kyrie real quick, and then we'll hit a break, is the other legacy aspect of this. If Luka comes out and just balls out, and the Mavs win this series, if Luka just very publicly is like, "Yo, Kyrie got me where I needed to go," I'm crediting Kyrie Irving for X, Y, and Z, and that takes Luka to whatever next level he can possibly get to as a player.
Mm-hmm.
That's the other aspect of the Kyrie legacy thing that will matter in this series, because if the story of Luka's career, if he continues this ascension where he's going to be a top 5 or 10 guy of all time, he's going to win multiple titles, whatever it is, multiple MVPs, and the turning point is, he was kind of stuck in the mud until Kyrie got there.
Yeah,
like that will also help the Kyrie Irving legacy.
No, I think it would. I think it would be like a really, really good moment for him. And the fact is, they still need Kyrie to be a great player.
1,000%.
So this can't just be like he's Obi-Wan Kenobi and he's trying to, lead young Luke Skywalker through.
Right.
I mean, this has to be more, right?
Yep.
I'm intrigued by the storyline, but I don't think I can give up on some of my understandings of him as a person and as some of the things that have happened.